halfway points for day one at the World Championship Series. We only have 4 best-of-3s remaining. We're about to jump into Group C. And this group's an interesting one. I'm joined with, once again, In Control and Todd. Group C. We looked at this group, we're coming into it, and it really feels like a battle for advancement between 4 players that are very close in skill. Anyone can advance from this group, right, Todd?
Yeah, with, not having any Korean in it, surely, it's very, very open. Anybody can make it out. I guess Lilbo, I think most of us would have agreed that maybe it was going to be the favorite, with TLO also very high in there. But I guess players, they were definitely happy when they found out that's the group they were in during the drawings.
Well, let's take a closer look at Group C, just make sure everyone's on the same page here. 4 players. Lilbo has really started to shine, especially this season. He's already been able to defeat Hydra in the round of 32, the Season 1 finalist. And to update everyone who hasn't been following this tournament too closely, he's already played his game against Ayasonu, and he won it 2-0 very convincingly.
Very quickly, I was guessing that.
You were, thank you very much, Todd. We're now moving on to TLO versus iaguz, which is going to be the first match here, played on the mainstream of Group C. TLO is one of only 3 players to have played in every single Premier League since 2013, since the new system was introduced back then. iaguz has a great opportunity now to play on the big stage, which he really hasn't done before, so it's a really interesting tale between these two, Jeff.
It is. TLO has been around since the very beginning. We can all remember back to the Wings of Liberty beta when he was dropping nukes as a Terran player, and now he's Zerg. But iaguz, a little bit more new on the scene, and a lot of people have been talking about it. He doesn't have big stage experience, so I think that's definitely a storyline for him. But what I like about him, too, is he's a dark horse pick in this group. Like, everyone looks at this and they say, TLO, Lilbo, a lot of hype about him, one of the biggest, if not the biggest European player. But man, iaguz can put some series together, and he can look rather dwarven while doing it the entire time.
He's a great character. We had a lot of fun with him when he traveled over to Cologne in Germany to play in the round of 32. And when he was there, we had some words with him about his trip to Toronto.
I'm not really sure what I would say is the exact reason why I've been a bit more successful lately. It's just, I guess, with hard enough practice over time, you get there. I kind of hope from the Canadian audience, I'd like to see them sort of like bowing and taking their tops off, swinging it around their heads, really losing like their minds completely. That would be expected of them. I don't really think I'll make it through round of 16, to be honest, but I don't really get nervous when I play, so maybe I'll win. I mean, I didn't expect to win a lot of groups in WCS, and then I do, so I guess I'm just a pessimist. I don't think I'll be stage diving if I win, but I don't know. I rather just like coming up with funny answers to questions. If I can make a room if I can make a room of that many people laugh just by saying something, yeah, that'll be pretty good.
It's really weird to hear like a non-Australian crowd chanting that. It's a very strange moment for me. I'm quite thankful.
I kind of have Australia's unconditional love at this point. Just as long as I don't know, stab a kangaroo. I'm pretty sure, like, win or lose, yeah, they'll love me anyway. I'm definitely going to take this for granted.
Ladies and gentlemen, iaguz, a fantastic story and a great personality. It was fantastic to have him, as mentioned already, in the round of 32. And that video just shows who he is. He's such a fun and very down-to-earth player in StarCraft II. Doesn't expect to do very well in the round of 16, but he's going to give it his best. And let's talk a little bit, over the last year or so, he's played in WCS America in 2013, 2014. He hasn't had bad results. He's not a bad player.
I'm a little bit surprised that he says that, he's this pessimist, because he's always been kind of good. He practices a lot. He's full-time on StarCraft, went to the Root House over in California to practice. So he's a really good player. And then he comes to this tournament and he says, well, I'd be happy with winning even one match or one map. That's really surprising.
For anyone that's a fan of Batman, they know that when you don't fear death, you are at your most scariest point. And I'll tell you what, iaguz, doesn't fear shaving, he doesn't fear cutting his hair, and he also does not fear losing on this stage. In fact, he's predicting it for himself, and that makes him a dangerous opponent. TLO, his opponent on the flip side, and I know I'm not going to get too far away, we're going to talk about it in a second, but TLO he's like the people's person. He needs to win. He's feeling that pressure. iaguz does not, and he has really good TVZ in particular. So I'm not calling him to advance from this group. I think Lilbo's a really tough opponent, but I think he's going to turn some heads. I think he's going to do a lot better than what even he thinks he will.
Yeah, it's a great story to follow, and we'll continue that as we get ready for the game. But it's time to introduce our next player to the main stage. Everybody knows this guy. Everybody loves this guy. It's TLO.
Guten Tag.
Paul has been holding on like a champion because he is one, but there you go. GG.
Playing in Germany definitely was an advantage for me. I didn't have any jet lag. I had the crowd behind myself. My brother was here as well to support me, and it felt absolutely phenomenal playing here, everybody chanting and shouting when I was taking a game. It helped my mindset. I stayed very calm. I didn't get nervous because I knew people have my back no matter what. And, you know, maybe that gave me the slight edge to power through. Going to Canada for a StarCraft event has been a dream for a long time. I think Toronto, to a lot of StarCraft players, is like a mini BlizzCon because there's just so many fans in Canada. Everybody has so much energy to just cheer for StarCraft, and people really love the game there. And you know, just being there is already great. Then if I can advance on top of that, I'm gonna feel awesome. A lot of times I'm still not very happy with the results I had in StarCraft II, but I think I have a very steady increase in skill and a very steady increase in results. So last season I went to the round of 8. My goal for this season, round of 4, definitely. You know, anything is possible. I just try to keep an open mind. Don't think too much about too far distant goals. You know, anything can happen.
Really heartwarming stories from both players here today for their very own reasons and why they want to be here and what they can achieve in their career. TLO, since the beginning of time, everybody knows this guy, one of the most lovable guys ever, but he really hit home in the round of 32. He didn't know what he was to expect. He was in a group with Polt. His brother traveled with him. He was playing in Germany. He defeated the champion in the round of 32 and advanced in first place to have a chance here to play in Toronto. That's a great story for Season 2 for him.
And there's so many great stories about TLO. That's one of my favorite parts about him. He's had injuries. He's kind of overcame that. He's one of those guys that really puts out there how hard he works on the mental aspect of this game. They call him he's one of the people's champs, and it's because he wears his heart on his sleeve, and everyone knows how much he cares and how hard he's working. And he's just a real champion of this game. So it's awesome to see him succeed. And I'll tell you, I like the backdrop of Polt's words. He said, yeah, I expect to take first in this group and TLO to take second, but it was the opposite. He took first, I took second, but it doesn't mean anything. And the result is the same. That's so cool to me, because that's this moment building up to now where TLO, it's like, hey, you made round of 8 before, like he said. His goal is round of 4. You got to get past these guys first, and it's going to be one of those gut check moments for the People's Champ. It's going to be awesome.
You've seen TLO for 5 years in StarCraft II now. He's been around since day one. What stood out in his career? And do you think he's at the point he thinks he is as well, with his skill steadily increasing over these years?
Yeah, I think his conditioning is really the one thing that he's worked on a lot and develops, an incredible amount of experience with how to deal with all that conditioning that goes into playing in this kind of tournament. You travel abroad, you have to get enough rest and all that. You have to be able to focus as much as you'd like so that you can play well in all those matches. Playing to your full potential when you're traveling, like you do at home, playing your best is actually very difficult. But TLO does that maybe the best, or at least one of the best players to do that when he travels to tournaments. Whereas on the other hand, you have a guy like iaguz, I'm not sure how well he conditions himself, but already not being that confident going to this match is definitely going to be difficult for him to do well against somebody like TLO.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to introduce these two fantastic individuals to the main stage. Chobra, do your best.
Been waiting a long time for this one. We are about to kick off Group C, and I don't hear much of the crowd. I mean, I know we're halfway through today, but we should all be excited for some more excellent StarCraft action. First up, coming in for Group C, hailing all the way from Australia, and as In Control mentioned, with nothing to lose, it is Root Gaming's iaguz. his opponent, a veteran in the WCS, a regular here in the Premier League. Can he go on? Can he move forward from this group? Let's find out. Playing for Team Liquid, it is TLO! All right, players, please shake hands and enter your booths and get ready to see who gets to go to the winners match in Group C.
An exciting match between these two players. As you've already mentioned, iaguz got nothing to lose, but at the same time, he has got an entire nation support behind him. And we know how passionate the Australian scene is. I'm sure there are people still awake down there wanting to see their
Maynard.
player play.
Down
Maynard
where?
definitely.
Down where?
Down under.
Oh, yeah.
Down there.
Yeah.
Maynard definitely up with a cheeky glass of his favorite beverage, as we all know and love. But also, we have a lot of German fans watching this. It's not that late in Europe, so thank you for all of you tuning in here still in Europe. I know you're watching back at home. TLO versus iaguz. A game for me, anyone can win this very easily. I think it's a very, very close series between both.
TLO showing the better form recently. I mean, toppling
Yeah.
Polt. Not to. I mean, that's not like a StarCraft's not so linear that you just like beat someone and then it's like, well, that means that for the rest of the month I will beat all Terrans beneath him. But it's a good sign. That's an amazing match. Polt did not take it easy. Didn't hide any of his builds. He's not like that. And TLO was still able to overcome him. So, iaguz, I mean, that would be intimidating if it weren't for the fact that iaguz literally. 0 F's given, man. He's just cool with it. He's like, I'm here to play StarCraft. I want the room to laugh a little bit, and I want to make Australia proud. I think it's awesome.
Well, when you've got a player who really doesn't, in an essence, worry about these things, TLO, he worries about every single match, every single game. You know, because he's such a popular figure, he can reap in the rewards of the crowd cheering for him, but he also takes the negative side of that too. As a loss, he's going to feel the exact same heightened emotions that he gets from winning when he loses here. So he takes that stuff to heart. You've already mentioned he wears his heart on his sleeves. What does this mean for TLO to play here today in Canada, Todd?
Oh, I think it's very important. TLO he's been striving to do well in all of these tournaments, and as I said before, WCS is the best and biggest tournament. This is the one you practice the most for. He's had quite a bit of time to actually practice for this very match here. He's been thinking, basically he's had iaguz on his mind for a very, very long time. And he's pretty much all he's been thinking about. Already actually going to the round of 32, I remember interviewing TLO a little bit before and him telling me that he was going to focus a lot on Terran. Look how much it showed already against Polt. Now he's gone from the round of 32 here to the round of 16, thinking about this guy here on your screen, iaguz, and preparing exclusively, or at least mostly for him, because it's his first match.
Yeah, iaguz definitely isn't the best player in this tournament. It's safe to say he knows it, we know it, but he definitely still packs a punch. And you can see he's still got a lot of wins to his belt within the WCS. He's beaten good players in the past. And if TLO makes mistakes, if TLO allows iaguz to come through, he will bulldoze. He will get that parade push working, and he can very easily beat TLO up there, Jeff.
Well, you know, Australia has a pretty nice competitive StarCraft scene, and he comes from a world where he's beaten your Pigs, he's beaten your Moonglades, he's beaten your Patreus. Some of the kind of household Zerg names come from Australia, and this is the Terran that has given them fits. So he's going to need to channel that now, because to beat TLO, like Todd said, is no easy task. TLO is in amazing shape.
You've seen the map vetoes. Here is map number 1. It's going to be Vanny Research Station. It currently has a very high amount of games played in this matchup as well within the WCS this year, and also close map scores. 14-12, Terran versus Zerg. What are your thoughts when we know that we're going to this map for the first destination, Todd?
I think it seems as if, you know, the one who just plays better simply wins. You don't need to do anything special on Vanny. You can just play standard and then see, you know, where that takes you. If like you don't do any damage early on, then it's not the end of the world. You know, you just take it into the later stages of the game, and it's going to be, you know, definitely one of the more equal maps out there in terms of not having to diverge from standard, which is, I don't particularly expect anything like that out of them, by the way. Like, I don't really expect them to go too crazy. Maybe TLO sometimes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was like, if one of them did, it would probably be TLO.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to jump in to the first match here on the mainstream of Group C. I hope you're ready for it. Let's head over to the commentary team.
All right, let's get into it then. TLO going up against iaguz. The man who beat the champion in the round of 32 goes up against the one Terran that was manifest in a world of Zerg down under. My co-caster here, Pig, knows a whole lot about that, and you know a whole lot about iaguz.
Oh yeah, my countryman. I'm looking forward to see what he brings out in this game.
Yeah, I think he could have a good shot here. Of course, though, TLO, having gone through the round of 32 in rapid succession, is looking to bring that ferocity here to the round of 16. Let's get into it. Game number 1 here, as we have spawning up to the top, it is our blue Terran representing route. It's iaguz. And down to the south, we have our red Zerg, representing Team Liquid from Germany. Give it up for TLO.
I'm really curious to see what these players can bring out here. TLO, of course, going up against iaguz here on Varney. It is a map which you could play mech on. There's a lot of different styles, and straight out of the bat from iaguz, we are going to see that barracks first, so no command center first play from him.
I'm just going to take this a little bit slower. There goes down that and gas as well. So no doubt I'm going to be looking for those Reapers to get over across the other side of the map and deal with TLO. But let's go down the history here of what we saw from TLO in this matchup, Pig. Because if we recall back to how he predominantly beat the champion Pol in the round of 32, how was he able to execute that? How did he beat the champion in this very same matchup?
It was a really bunch of interesting builds that Dario, of course, TLO did use there up against Polt. And what really brought him success, it was a 2-1 series against Polt, was a lot of 2-base muta play, including builds where he did really cute things like skipping Zergling speed, rushing straight to lair, and rushing out Mutalisks. Now, iaguz would have seen those games, so TLO may be aware of that. He may change up his style, but he's definitely been the more creative of the two players. iaguz, on the other hand, is much more of a defensive macro beast. His goal in Terran vs Zerg is to get a lot of units and to overwhelm the Zerg with that parade push.
Do that and play exactly like Bomber, because that's where he draws most of his inspiration from. And I was about to ask you, because iaguz has this devil may care attitude almost to the round of 16 going forward, nothing to lose, everything to gain. Does he completely read into that from TLO? You said that TLO could potentially change things up. Is the Reaper opening here indicative of him trying to read TLO very, very early?
I think this is just a very, very safe opening from iaguz, getting that scouting on. And against someone like TLO, you do want to make sure you see anything like that before it gets out of hand. Interestingly, a cute little adjustment from iaguz was he did pull off gas for a moment to get that command center down very early. But that Reaper is now coming in, going to see if he can get a bit of damage done.
Yeah, doing what it can. These Zerglings should be able to buffer in time here for the Queen to end up popping out. It's only the one Reaper at the moment, so very, very difficult for it to really do a whole lot. He's going to start working on one drone. Lava Inject goes down and almost grabs himself a drone, but dives on into that extractor and will be fine.
Yeah, a very nice little bit of harassment, at least forcing that pressure out. And iaguz isn't really committing to this. It's just that single Reaper, and we see a very fast third command center going down at home for iaguz. Very typical play from him. Delaying his factory and reactor a little bit to do this, getting out just that single Marine to deny scouting. Meanwhile, TLO getting that Zergling speed, pulling 2 guys off gas, and almost traps that Reaper there.
So if you're the Zerg in this position going up against iaguz, if you're the Zerg having known that your opponent would have seen those 2-base muta kind of very early layer things, is there anything you can do in the Zerg's shoes to try and throw iaguz off guard in that position, or do you have to play against this 3 command center because it's going to dictate the pace? What do you have to do here?
It's really up to each player's choice. One of the great things about Zerg is they're one of the most adaptive races, and I think that's why TLO settled on them, being such a creative player who loves to change it up. Interestingly, we don't see him going for a fast third. He has put back on gas, and I believe we are going to see a fast lair start up for him in the next couple of seconds.
Okay. And that's the all-important thing as to why we're seeing iaguz keep that Reaper alive, babysitting that, poking in and out, seeing exactly what's going on. So, yeah, we'll continue on. 2 extra Queens being added on here for TLO as well to get that creep going. And the 3rd command center, the third hatchery has actually been taken on spot for TLO just to kind of propel his economy forwards a bit.
It is a very, very nice, efficient opening there, getting up the 3 hatcheries. Of course, iaguz, on the other hand, has got his third commencer down so fast, and he is now going to be swapping into that Banshee play in just a moment. But TLO, coming in with the Overlord Scout at the moment, is going to spot that Starport swapping over, and he is going to see exactly what iaguz is up to.
Wow, wow, wow. This Baneling nest coming down from TLO. Pretty rapid as a response here to what's going on from iaguz. Is this designed to shut this down, or is this designed for an attack later on?
This could just be a safety move from TLO, kind of making sure he can't die to any sneaky Hellbat timings, but he's coming out now trying to get some pressure done. And remember, of course, this is a map with a very long distance, so it is really, the pressure is on iaguz to stop the creep and do a bit of damage here. Coming in there, very nice save from TLO, building that extractor to save that drone, and iaguz does pull out of there, just settling for picking away at the Zerg player.
Yeah, there's Banshee's about to finish up. So he will continue to mount that pressure, despite it being that 3 command center opening that we saw at the beginning. So he's put himself in a good spot economically, as well as he will transfer that over. And the more pressure he can do on the TLO side of the map, the less that TLO can head over across the other side and shut down that third, right?
Yes, absolutely. With the Hellion Banshee, there's a real mobility advantage at the moment for iaguz, and it looks like TLO is really investing in a lot of spores, even a spine crawler. TLO looking like he just wants to play a macro game here, feeling very confident to just extend the length of this game. We do see that Banshee coming in on the back door now, but it is going to drive right into a spore crawler, and it does have to edge around that. But there's a lot of space on this map to find an opening. The main base is actually undefended, but iaguz doesn't seem to realize it. Assuming there's a spore crawler in that main base, that Banshee is going to fly around the back here.
Well, the natural is positioned in such a way that it doesn't really cover the mineral line all too well. There was another one to the right-hand side here, but again, just maneuvering around, trying to find a better path forward through. And it doesn't have the vision on it, so he can't gun it down with these 2 queens.
Doing a little bit of damage there, poking and prodding, but remember, that isn't the focus of iaguz's build. He is powering up his macro at home right now. We actually see he's only 1 worker behind the Zerg player here. TLO playing very safe with so many spore crawlers, so much static defense, but iaguz, on the other hand, is actually already starting to pull ahead in supply. This is that famed iaguz macro that we talk about, where he just loves to get to 3 command centers, build a lot of SCVs, and then pump out an endless horde of bio and widow mines. And TLO's let him get to that comfort zone.
Yeah, I was going to say, you bring up a good point there. He's let iaguz do this. I mean, there has been no real signs of aggression from his side. That 3rd command center was up very, very early here. And the Banshees, maybe they've got a few drones here and there, but that all sets iaguz forwards, right? So how does TLO contend this? I mean, he is currently going into just Ling, Bane, Muta with the Spire on the way, but he has range upgrades on the way as well.
Is that a mistake? I was just about to bring that up. That range upgrade does not seem to make a lot of sense right now. I think that's a misclick from TLO, and that's actually massive. Upgrades are so important in this matchup, and that ranged upgrade is going to affect not a single one of his units except for his queens. It's really not something he wants. He needs those melee upgrades for those Zerglings, whereas iaguz is just going to pull ahead with his 1-1 finishing very shortly.
Yeah, he's adding on extra production as well now, so he's going to be really flying very soon. Banshee's come in once again, going to gun down a few more of these drones, putting TLO a little bit further behind. 67 workers at the moment against the 64. Gets himself one of the Banshees, though, on the very cusp of being able to escape. And a nice transfuse as well there by TLO, who pokes forwards with Lings and sees a big, big army.
Yes, and TLO is now pushing towards that gold base. He's trying to get his creep out there, but look at the supplies. iaguz's supply is just pushing so far ahead. TLO is going to really need to take fights on creep and hang on and try to let himself equalize in this game, but holding on to that 4th base is going to be very hard. Luckily for him, iaguz doesn't realize where it is, and he's now pushing in, seeing no 4th in the regular location. iaguz might not realize that TLO is actually going for that gold base.
Counter-attack set up here for TLO, as he will move in with these Zerglings, looking to cut off reinforcements. And actually, that's quite a few Zerglings. Doesn't quite have any Banelings with this at all. Those 2 Widow Mines, oh, that one causes a bit of friendly fire actually onto the Marines clustered there by the Zerglings. And he should be able to clean this up with these reinforcements alone. That being said as well, that was a lot of Zerglings for not really trading off much against this particular army, which is very powerful. And the gold base finishes just as he arrives. Perfect timing by iaguz.
TLO knows he can't fight this. Instead, going for a huge counterattack. He knows he cannot combat this. iaguz, he's cleaning up a couple drones, cleaning up that base, but is he going to be able to defend this big, massive mutas and Zerglings and Banelings going across the map?
Keeps on with the counterattacks, just really preferring this, realizing that that army for iaguz is actually very powerful. And now the Thor in the mix as well. At the moment, not much has happened to iaguz, and he is running away with this. You mentioned it at the beginning, you know, the kind of steamroller effect once he gets his macro going, and right now it's looking good with those Banelings. Kill off a few of these Widow Mines.
Oh, trying to get the wraparound. TLO coming into the Banelings, the Mutas, gets a few decent connections. Looks like he's going to clean up this army, but there are reinforcements coming from behind, and iaguz does remain, losing a couple of medevacs, losing a couple of valuable units. That was a pretty good trade for TLO, but there's still no fourth base for TLO. TLO needs to be even more cost efficient than that.
Good drop here from iaguz as well. Really distracting and drawing his attention away from another location. He got himself 7 workers left-hand side. Creep's going to be cleaned up here by iaguz, really continuing to pile on the pressure as iaguz here, we said it before, this devil maker attitude that he has about things. He really has not really missed a beat at all in this game. It really feels as if he is in the comfort zone.
His macro is on another level right now. TLO playing quite safe, relatively conservatively, having good macro, but iaguz's macro has been uninterrupted and it has been near perfect this game. He is maxed out against 130 supply TLO. That is absolutely staggering. TLO's looking for the angle. He needs to get a good fight here. iaguz doesn't seem to realize the Zerg army's there, but he is turning around.
And some Marauder at the front as well. If those Banelings don't connect with the right targets, he has to try and move them back, but they don't get to the Marines at all, as there's plenty left over here to contend these Mutalisks. TLO so far has been completely overrun here by iaguz, who's dwarfing him in supply at the moment. This army denies the 4th base, and that's really all that iaguz has to do, surely. Just keep denying these 4th bases, and he'll be totally fine.
He is in such a strong position right now, Kalaris. His army is just maxed out, and iaguz can do anything he wants right now. TLO pushing across the map, trying to buy himself time, trying to go for that counter-attack, but iaguz feels that confidence deep within. He's got a Widow Mine denying the 4th base. He's got a huge army up here, and he is preparing for that death push.
Mutalisk's going to go all the way back here against iaguz, who look to buy him time, but iaguz is not turning around by the looks of things. He macros back against some of the Banelings that were actually there, but still the Marauders do end up lingering. That's a huge, huge extra reinforcement that we're seeing here. The Mutalisks, yes, are on the reinforcements, and he will contaminate one of these buildings to slow down the extra production that is coming along, but how is he supposed to shut this down? iaguz is on his opponent's doorstep. GG, game number 1 goes to the Aussie, and that was pretty much overwhelming there for TLO to deal with.
Overwhelming's almost an understatement for that performance. That was a beautiful, crisp game from iaguz, and he's got to be feeling good with how everything just seemed to go his way that game.
Yeah, I would say so. TLO, though, looking at that, I mean, with the kind of differences of paths that he goes down when it comes to his game, his style, he's got to change things up for game number 2. He cannot let this triple command center macro like really take lift and really gather that kind of pressure, surely.
Not at all. I think against a player like iaguz, it is TLO's job as a Zerg to try and interrupt him. We do see that replay there with that engagement, just not enough Zerg units against that overwhelming Terran Bioforce.
Yeah, very, very difficult to deal with. You could see it was absolutely monstrous to deal with there. TLO is just going to have to sit back and probably take that first game as kind of a blip, to be honest with you. You know, there wasn't much aggression from his side of things. He allowed iaguz to do whatever he wanted, and then when that happened, he knew exactly what to do. That being said, though, as you said, iaguz probably understands TLO's styles quite well, considering the amount of material that he has to study from someone that is a fan favorite, that is well documented in TLO, despite him doing some crazy stuff.
And you've got to think about what this has in terms of the effects of the players' mindsets right now. iaguz, sure, coming into this, he says, oh, maybe I'll win some games. But when you win a game like that, suddenly you're thinking, wow, that was almost a little bit too easy. If I can win in that fashion, maybe I can make it out of this group. Maybe I can make a really, really deep run here. And he is going to have to keep that firm, focused mindset here. I think one of the big things we didn't really focus on too much in that last game is just how much damage he got with those Banshees, just constantly poking and prodding. It was such great control with that.
He found good angles. He did find good angles, but that's the frame of this group, right? In the grand scheme of things, people are looking at Littlebow. They're looking at TLO to do well here, but iaguz can certainly upset the balance, shift that Map number 2 is going to be Echo here as we get in. Is this once again a good map here for iaguz? Is he going to be able to get that momentum going, or can TLO do something a bit crazy?
I think this is a really balanced map in the TVZ matchup.
Yeah.
There obviously are a lot of different options you can go for, but it is quite easy to defend your 3 base. So I think this one actually plays quite well into iaguz's hand. He loves that 4 base versus 4 base stage. We saw him pushing in, denying those 4th bases last game, and he's going to try to do it again.
All right, let's get into it, Toronto, as we have game number 2 here in Group C, as we have spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, bringing a ferocious game number 1 as our blue Terran representing Team Roots. It is iaguz. And up to the top left-hand corner, we have our red Zerg representing Team Liquid. Hailing from Germany, it's TLO.
One game away from being knocked down to the losers match. TLO does not want to drop this game. He wants to bring his best play, and he wants to equalize this series.
And how will he do that? And that's the big question. Map like Echo, I consider to be the sister map to Coda, very, very similar to one another. iaguz here as queued up a lot of SCVs actually. Is he looking for a command center first?
You're spot on there, James. Command center first build. One of iaguz's favorites. Loves those economic plays, and he's going to be going for that here on Echo. TLO, on the other hand, going for that pool first build. Like we said, he's down a game. He does not want to get eliminated here, and so he is going for that super safe build. That being said, it's not like it's too much of a deficit. You still get out a very fast queen and a relatively fast hatchery, and it's going to allow him to just get very early map control. It is going to be interesting, though, how many Zerglings does he choose to build off this? If he builds something like 6 Zerglings very early, he may be able to delay iaguz's command center on the low ground and get quite a lot of damage done.
We definitely could. Barracks obviously delayed because of that command center, and thus units will as well. As TLO here, sending over his Overlord, will be able to spot this command center pretty early on, and then from there, be able to kind of gauge what is actually up. There's already Lings in production, with that Queen starting just a bit before them, but the 4 Lings able to head on across. As I said, can cause some disruption.
Absolutely, iaguz here is just looking to power up. He is going for that gas. We're not seeing anything crazy like a 1 barracks into a 3rd command center. He is going to be going for that Hellion play. TLO coming in now, spotting the timing of the command center. He knows exactly what's happening here. And notice he isn't dropping a gas at home just yet. Knowing it's a command center first build, the Hellions will be delayed. TLO's going to try and push probably for that faster 3rd base. And those Zerglings now pushing across the map, seeing if they can come down and harass this natural a little bit.
And with that, I mean, if he can do something down here, it certainly disrupts the flow of a Terran, that's for sure. But with the Marines being coming out at the time that they're at, can he thwart this?
The bunker's not going to finish in time. These Zerglings are coming in, Kalaris. They're going to stop that bunker. Get an SCV kill here straight away. iaguz being forced to pull SCVs down to the natural. He has to not lose too many SCVs. The second one already going down. TLO's Lings already paying for themselves. And look at that. They're trying to get that Marine, but it manages to slip out of there just barely.
Good control there by iaguz and losing to the 2 SCVs in the end. Yeah, slowing down the bunker, but they'll get back onto that. And then behind all of this is Drone City with an extra couple of Queens coming on in. So a little bit of a small event happening and occurring. But both players here will stabilize.
A big focus on creep spread going to be happening this game from TLO with that very fast 4 Queens before even taking any gas geysers or a 3rd base. And now dropping double gas around 5 minutes 20. This is actually a very interesting opening. Potentially some Roach-based play coming out from there. On the other side of things, iaguz just swapping into those Hellions. And wow, big surprise, iaguz going for that 3rd command center. Yeah. He wants to get that economy up.
Why on earth not? Because he's 1 game up, you know, if TLO is going to present something more aggressive here, you know, if he holds against it, having this kind of backbone of the economy you could have with triple command center, it would be fantastic. And let's not forget that TLO is a mainstay here in WCS. He has been in every single WCS since the beginning of time, basically. And iaguz hasn't exactly had those same results. But in game number 1, he showed that he is able to hang with the very best of them in TLO. And at the moment here, as much as he did take a little bit of damage and as much as he did get slowed down, it's okay.
And of course, looking at iaguz's progression from here, we can follow the age-old rule of if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Do the same thing. He's doing the exact same build order, coming across to pressure with those Hellions. Of course, TLO, though, doing a bit of a different build this game. We do see a Spine Crawler coming down, a cute little Evolution Chamber wall, looking to really macro up off a bare minimal of defenses here.
So Logans will be cleaned up there at the front, and these two Hellions still trying to dive on him, but with the perimeter setup that we've got there for TLO over towards the natural, very difficult to just kind of skirt on past that spine unless you are absolutely 100% confident that there aren't going to be a ton of lings behind it to buffer and wait for that to actually finish up. So don't want to be taking too many risks here as iaguz.
Of course, if he throws those Hellions away, he does give free map control to those creep tumors to spread as fast as they want. His goal here is just to slow that down. He's got to try and slow down TLO's progression on the map. That's what these Hellions are for. And he has got Banshees and Cloak on the way once again. So that same opening, we've got to highlight, of course, that this opening, it's so economic, but iaguz still gets to put pressure on it. There's definitely some timing windows. A fast Roach Bane, a fast Ling Bane Bust. These are all sorts of builds which iaguz's build is vulnerable to. But once again, TLO being a bit afraid for his tournament life here, or his life in this set, I should say, he's actually playing it quite defensive. And I think this is actually playing into iaguz's hands just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, despite, slowing down the economic opener there from iaguz with those few lings, at the moment, he's just wanting to go toe-to-toe with him again. TLO, though, he's got plenty of drones on the way to populate his third base. And are the rocks down at the third base here for TLO? Did he break them?
Yes, he's taken those rocks down. He's now in a very strong defensive position off a minimal of units. And he is once again investing in so many Spore Crawlers. He's actually built 2 Spores at most of his bases. The Banshee coming in through the natural, but there is detection absolutely everywhere. It's only going to be able to pick up 2. Is it going to get a third? A third? Oh, 4 kills.
Wow.
Nice little micro there from iaguz, but that Banshee has pretty much used up its usefulness, and it is now in a lot of danger.
Yeah, those Spore Crawlers as well as Queens can zone that out, can continue on. But for TLO, the transition from the round of 32 to the round of 16 so far, it's not looked quite as polished. I mean, if you think back to those games against the champion in the round of 32, a lot of it was those 2-base Muta builds, catching his opponent off guard, always bringing the fight to his opponent. In this series, iaguz has been doing the complete opposite for the most part. He's been bringing the fight to TLO off the back of these strong economic openers. So TLO's got to find some traction somewhere.
He's got to do something different, I think. He's got to try and find better engagements this game. And what's going to be important is, can he defend these Banshees without letting them do as much damage as they did last game? They're coming back in again for another harassment on the natural. They are picking off just 1 drone. One of the Banshees gets shot down, and that is some pretty big defense there from TLO.
Starting up his 2-2 now. Stimpack expect to finish up for iaguz, and he's sitting comfortable at the 61 workers that he's got at the moment with that third base now up and running. 4th base is on the way for TLO though. Spire's going down. He likewise is probably in a bit more of a comfortable spot than he was in the first game, that's for sure, as he's been able to thwart the aggression pretty nicely.
And iaguz's macro kicking in on point, but you are right, TLO's in a much stronger position. Interestingly, TLO's taken this 4th base on the southern side of the map, and he doesn't have as much creep spread there. Also, if iaguz takes the 4th base in line with this, it's going to be a very close pushing distance for him. TLO may have to rely on a lot of counterattacks this game if it comes to that point.
I mean, you said it before, like playing into his hands, right? If that base is the base that continues on, and he does launch his attacks from that 4th base down that path, surely iaguz can gain a lot of traction from that, from his normal playstyle.
Spot on, and iaguz, of course, coming in now with this 12-minute pressure. Saved his Hellions from earlier. He can transform them to Hellbats. He's still got a Banshee alive as well, adding some nice damage from the skies. Big ball of Marines, and even 2 Widow Mines already here. Look at this. He's going to take advantage of this terrain here, pushing in very hard.
They're getting in at just the right time. These Spine Crawlers were not finished up. Here come the Banelings now, actually, to crash against some of the Hellbats at the front. Centrifugal Hooks has just finished up, though. Can this army from the right-hand side do a whole lot? He's going to try and pick up what he can of it, but a lot of it was crushed forwards. And that was a pretty successful defense there for TLO.
It looked a little bit scary, but TLO does come out of that with a very, very clean hold. And the supply is looking very even right now.
He's adding on Corruptors. He's adding on Corruptors to this composition, which is a little more uncommon. We saw it in the Korean scene for a while, and it can do quite well against this kind of composition, right?
Especially against a player like iaguz. He's not a particularly drop-heavy player. Yes, he mixes in 1 or 2, but he's not a player who goes all over the map, something like 4GG. And so if you've got Corruptors, they stand up in a frontal engagement against Thors much better than Mutalisks. They can absorb a lot of damage while whittling down that medevac count. So this is a really cool adjustment from TLO, really understanding his opponent, and we are going to see how that goes as iaguz pushes out for one more push here.
And TLO, ever the tormentor, has put Lings on the 4th of the base positions if his opponent is wanting to take those anytime soon. So he'll have to drop scans down. And also remember, because Burrow is in effect, or even researched, we could potentially see burrowed Banelings.
He actually just tried to send 2 of them out, and they got sniped down by iaguz's army, so iaguz should be aware of that they definitely could come to play. iaguz looking like he's a little bit afraid to push onto creep here. His army idling off the edge of creep, doesn't want to throw his force away. And look at this supply. iaguz somehow has just jumped up 30 supply ahead, but TLO has the 4th base established. iaguz doesn't. TLO's on 85 drones. If TLO has a bit of time to get this economy up and pump out more units, he's going to be feeling very comfortable.
And how is this? I mean, TLO here, being down about 30 or so supply, has found room for the Hive to morph in. So these Lings are going to sacrifice themselves just a little bit, trying to get the wraparound on some reinforcements. Banelings, likewise, on the left-hand side, should be able to clear up that bio. And on the right-hand side, those Widow Mines really didn't do much at all against those Lings and Banelings to impede their progress down this right-hand side.
But so many Zerglings going down there on the right-hand side. Even though iaguz lost some units at the front, we can see it reflected in the supply that TLO being a little bit sloppy with those Zerglings engaging the backside of iaguz's force. And now there is a huge supply lead for iaguz. Oh, a cute Baneling trap there. Didn't quite get what he wanted. Just taking out a couple of Marines.
And there was also the drop into the natural here as iaguz continues to apply this pressure pretty well, actually. There are a lot of Spore Crawlers there to aid in that defense, and he's slowly gathering a little bit of momentum himself here to have that Hive kick in. But still, I don't think he's fully weathered the storm. It's double the army supply here for iaguz.
iaguz has even added a siege tank in. He really wants to abuse these ledges here. Look at this, spreading his army around the ledges, on the low ground, on the high ground, Widow Mines, a siege tank. This is such a hard spread for TLO to engage into. TLO is unsure where can he engage this army. Look how many Marauders there are up front. This hatchery is getting dangerously low.
He's going to try and swing it in with a lot of Lings from the backside here. There were 2 Widow Mines, but they get focused down pretty quickly. A little bit of an explosion onto some of these Corruptors as well as Mutalisks there. But the hatchery fell during all of this, and iaguz is still up double his opponent's army supply after denying that base as well. Gonna head to the natural. iaguz is all over the place, Pink.
Look at this endless stream of fire. You just don't see this many units pumping out of a 3-base Terran every day. And the siege tank added in is just such a cute move. It's so beautiful. TLO spent a lot of gas on these Mutas and Corruptors, but they haven't been able to get the job done that he wanted. He just hasn't had the overwhelming numbers of Zergling Baneling. And look at this, iaguz knows he's got the advantage. He is pushing in relentlessly, pushing so deep on creep. He does not care. He knows he has a superior army right now.
These games for TLO. In the round of 32, he was able to seize the momentum so strongly against the champion, no less. But at the moment here against iaguz, iaguz almost seems to have his number in these games. He's played phenomenally in this series at the moment, but the very few units that TLO has left over are gone. GG! Game number 2 goes to iaguz. A 2-0 victory over one of the favorites in the group. That has got to feel good here for the Australian.
You can see that wry smile on his face. iaguz looking happy with that one. A very commanding victory there. Very clean games. He really got into his comfort zone there and showed us some commanding play.
Very well done there by iaguz. Unfortunately for TLO, a bit of a blip there in the end. Not exactly looking as if his strongest games, but he is still alive, of course, in this group. We're going to head to the main stage with our winner. Moving on to the winner's game, it is iaguz.
Thank you very much. And the crowd going wild as we see Root Games iaguz take the first win here in Group C. I think the biggest question is here, I mean, you said it in your interview, you're not really sure how you'll do in the round of 16, but you've already really made it as far as you'd wish to for this season. You're happy with it, but how does it feel now to have that win under your belt?
Yeah, it feels pretty good. I felt confident against TLO when I saw I was going to play him, and I guess I was not misplaced.
What about playing against TLO? Is it just, you know, the matchup of TVZ, or just something that maybe you had more content to study off of for TLO? What made you confident about this matchup specifically?
Mostly just because I do pretty good against him on ladder. I mean, as long as I could just make it a macro game about mechanics, then I'll win.
All right, some confidence. I mean, hey, if it happens regularly, no reason to doubt yourself. Now, you talk about how, you don't really expect too much pressure for yourself. You feel pretty good. I mean, the crowd's going wild. But now that you have that win, you're pretty close to moving out. I mean, you win one more match of the winner's match, and you're in the quarterfinals. Is that going to add a little more pressure, or are you just going to go as you have been?
I mean, I'm not pressured, but I'll be super pleased to make it round of 8, if for no other reason than it's further than Pig got last time.
All right, a little bit of a challenge right there over to Pig. Well, we'll find out shortly for sure. Once again, a big round of applause for your first winner here in Group C, iaguz from Root Gaming.
Absolutely fantastic as always, iaguz. Congratulations, he moves through to the winners match. And just like the round of 32, his interviews prove, well, his answers at least, prove to be ones that I would like to hear more of, and hopefully he wins another game.
Firing the shots, man.
He's a cheeky guy, to use the term that you guys use all the time in the studio. I like him. He's funny. I like that a lot.
He's funny, and I would have loved to have Pig, no offense, guys, up here to talk about this afterwards, because that was rather cheeky indeed, Jeff.
Pig would just laugh. He's wherever he is right now.
Yeah, what about what he'd feel inside? What he actually feel inside hearing this?
God damn it, you wait till season 3. A good performance from iaguz. He came up there, he didn't really put too much weight on his shoulders, didn't really know what to expect from himself, but he won. He picked up a good victory and a good confidence booster, and like Chobra said, just one game, just 2 maps away from being in the round of 8, which is massive.
He's in a good spot. He's looking down the barrel at Lobo, excuse me, which is you could call him Lobo.
I like Lobo.
That's going to be a really tough matchup. We'll talk about that later. But should he lose that, it's a couple of Zergs, which we've seen his TVZ now.
Right.
I'm convinced that's a very strong matchup for him. I mean, TLO, again, we did not falsely hype this guy. He's got a good ZvT lately, but if you looked at just that series, you took away the names, you would think it was a phenomenal Terran against a pretty bad Zerg in that matchup. And it's not because necessarily that TLO is not a good player. It's because iaguz is playing at another level right now in that TVZ matchup.
Yeah, good to see. Thank you very much, Jeff. Let's take a look at the bracket to check in with where we exactly are in this group. In Group C, as we now have officially our winner bracket set up, which will be playing on stage very shortly. I'm excited. I really like Lobo as a player, and it's going to be great to see what he can bring to the big stage for the first time here. Going up against iaguz tomorrow, TLO will take to the stage in front of the Canadian crowd once again to play against the last remaining Chinese player, Iasonu. Good bracket, looking cool. Yeah. Winners matches. We will talk a little bit about it now and a lot more later on. A cool winners match, and I don't know if you guys are excited for Lobo as much as I am.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, you have to be, right?
Yeah,
you kidding me?
It's going to be great.
We saw you're excited for Marine Lords.
This is the most excited you've ever seen talk.
Look.
This is it.
No, it's going to be good. I can't wait to see this match. Lilbo, actually, versus Terran, it's funny because he's had a lot of up and downs. So now he's going to go against iaguz, who I think that was beast mode here, right there, against TLO.
Yep.
That second game, are you kidding me? Like 50 supply up, just like going across the map. He doesn't fear the late game, it seems like.
No.
You know, mechanically, he's really, really good, but he's been complaining a little bit here and there about Protoss. I don't think he's that happy with, how the matchup goes, especially in the late game. So it's going to be interesting to see if he tries to take it to the late game or not. Yeah. Because we know that in the past, it's not always been the case with those SCV pulls.
In Lobo, his last series, I can't remember who the Terran was. You're the better librarian than I am, but to qualify for here, the Terran that he beat.
Was it Kelazor that he played?
Yeah, I think so.
Was it just him?
I think so.
Well, I remember his comment was just, he was like, I didn't even practice PVTs. Like, this was not my concern. And yet his PVT looked rock steady.
Yeah.
It was not cheese-based. It was just raw mechanics, solid play, able to mix in timings. I mean, it's scary stuff. So I think Lobo's got to be the favorite to advance.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to move on to the winners match. We're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, either iaguz or Lilbo will represent their nation in the quarterfinals on Sunday. It's going to be a great game. Stay tuned.